Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. The Israelites have been scattered across the four corners of the earth, as prophesied in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Here in Israel United in Christ, we need your help to recover the remnant of our people, teach them the gospel. Please help us, support us, and join or donate to the Booster Club today. Shalom.
Hocus the wicked in a daydream. They painted their likeness, dropped the smoke screen. I ate the little book, it gave me protein. I'm walking with giants, yeah, you never seen.
Hocus pocus, them boys, where they with at? Took them up in the sky, how they do that? Disappeared in my eyes, where they with at? If you sit there, you know you can't get in. Hocus pocus, them boys, where they with at? Took them up in the sky, how they do that? Disappeared in my eyes, where they went at? If you sit there, you know you can't get in.
I'm laughing, they like what happened. They just vanished. A black man just cracked the sky now. You can panic, you robbed me of my culture with no problem. And now you're about to die here like Dennis Rodman. I told you, thought I told you in Obadiah that you don't want no beef like empanadas. I've been here, yep, I've been here. If he got a yellow thin here, he can't come in here. You don't even got no melanin, you need some skincare. I vote Christ for president, don't bring your sin here.
So today's class is going to be called, once again, The Truth About Hispanic Heritage, right? Because, what is it, September? Officer Leon, you should know. What is it?
I don't know. I ain't celebrate that.
You know the dates.
I keep God's laws, Cap.
Okay, all praises.
You trying to get me? You see that?
September 15th to
Yes,
October
it is.
15th, right? Is what they
Yeah.
call Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah. And they celebrated past Monday, Columbus Day.
Yeah, Columbus Day is within that. The
Yep.
irony. Oh, the slap in the face.
Yeah.
So the truth about Hispanic heritage. Let's go to Romans 15. Let's read 1 through 4. I'm going to be moving today, so just write it down. We got a lot to get through.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 1. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification.
Read it again, verse 1.
Verse 1. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves.
Right, so this is what we have to do, especially us of the southern kingdom. We have to bear the iniquities of the weak, which would be our northern kingdom brothers. Weak because why? They don't know who they are, right? We got some sort of knowledge of it. It's been preached to us because the scriptures say Judah shall rise first. Let's keep it up. Yeah. Right? And they're not weak since in the sense of physically, because they're strong. They're strong people, right? But they weak mentally, weak spiritually. Read on.
Verse 2. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even Christ pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me.
Fell on Christ, right? Because he died for our sins. Read.
For whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
So our foundation has to be the scriptures in order for us to learn who we are. I know you got a plethora of videos out there. You got, we refer to books, we refer to articles, all types of stuff. But our foundation of learning is through the scriptures. Everything must be filtered through the scripture. If it don't line up with what God say, well, I'm throwing that away. Right? Some people might call us biased, whatever, but the foundation of learning comes through the Bible. That's how you are not confused in the last days. Let's go to Isaiah 34. Let's read 16 and 17.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 16. Hearken not to Hezekiah.
No, Isaiah 34, 16.
Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 16.
Right.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
Seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. Read.
No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them.
Read on.
Verse 17. And he hath cast the lot for them.
Cast lot for them, meaning that he chose what books to be in this book in the last days. Read.
And his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. From generation to generation shall they dwell therein.
We will possess it forever because the whole battle on the earth is us turning away from evil and finding our way back to our true heritage. That's why we got to seek out the book of the Lord and read to find your true heritage. Go to Jeremiah 17, verse 4. That's where it starts. Seeking out the book of the Lord and reading. You can't listen to what somebody tell you. That's why we tell you, brother, study to show yourself approved. It ain't just so you can answer questions to make us feel like we being heard. It's for you to learn how to explain your true heritage so you're not deceived and taken into the wide path. You stay on the straight and narrow. Read that Jeremiah 17 and 4.
Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
In the context of today's class, our Hispanic brothers have been cut off from their heritage for centuries. More than the so-called blacks. They've been cut off since when? Give me an approximate date of when they were beginning to be cut off. Azariah had his hand up first. Stand up for him. When was an approximate date of them being cut off from their heritage?
Around 722 BC.
Around 722 BC, right? That's what most people think. I knew you was going to say that. Most people think that. Give me Romans chapter 10, and let's read 1 through 3. Here's the result. We'll get to it later, but here's the result of being cut off from your heritage. This is what we have done in these last days, our brothers and our sisters of Hispanic origin. Read that, Romans 10, 1 through 3.
This is the book of Romans chapter 10 and verse 1. Brethren, my heart desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God.
They have a zeal of God. We all have a zeal of God. Blacks, Hispanics, we have a zeal for God. Read.
But not according to knowledge.
But it's not according to knowledge, the knowledge of God. We had explained that today on the streets. Our understanding is not according to the knowledge of God. It is what we have made up. We've put God in our own box of how he should feel about the wickedness that we do. We made up our own understanding. We're ignorant of it. Read on.
Verse 3. For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God.
Have not submitted to the righteousness of God. That's a result of being disconnected from who you truly are. Give me that first article, Pew Research Center, PEW Research Center. Pull it up when you get it. Pew Research Center. We want to read the first two paragraphs. Read the title.
V. Politics, Values, and Religion.
Zoom in on it more.
5. Politics, Values, and Religion. Latinos have often been characterized as mostly socially conservative than most Americans. On some issues, such as abortion, that's true. but others, such as the acceptance of homosexuality, it is not.
So they won't kill the baby, but you can be whatever you want to be. You know, you get your eyebrows cut. You know how Northern Kingdom be doing it, the 2 eyebrows and the be in the shop. Northern Kingdom know what I'm talking about, getting your eyebrows done. Man, I'll be seeing y'all. Northern Kingdom will be quiet now. Read that. Go back to it. Read that.
When it comes to their own assessments of their political views, Latinos, more so than general public, say their views are liberal.
Liberal freedom. Meaning what? We don't want to keep no what, brothers? No laws. Read.
The Pew Hispanic Survey also reveals that Latinos are more religious than most Americans.
They are what?
More religious than most Americans.
Hispanic brothers love their church. Love it. More religious than most Americans. They have a zeal for God, but not according. Read on.
They are more likely to say they belong to a religion and to attend religious services regularly.
Okay, now jump down to Latinos and religion. Scroll down. This is what you call the inward thought of every one of them is deep. It's called surveys. You think you're just giving a survey for your honest opinion. They are literally figuring out how to rule over you. Go back to it. Latinos and religion.
Latinos and religions. Latinos as a group are religiously observant. Compared with the general public, they are more likely to claim a religious affiliation and to attend religious services more frequently. However, they are about equally as likely to say religion is important in their lives. Overall, religiosity is highest among immigrant Latinos and lowest amongst those who are third generation.
So the longer that they are here is what it's saying is the less they begin to believe in God. The less they begin to believe in God. Why? I mean, look at the things around them. They slowly drift away from any type of learning of God. Go back to it. Let's read that religious affiliation. Look at this.
Religious affiliation. According to the Pew Hispanic Survey, 83% of Hispanics claim a religious affiliation. A share slightly higher than that seen among the general public, 80%.
Read on.
Among Latinos, most are Catholic.
Most are what?
Most are Catholic.
Most are Catholic. Read on.
More than 3 in 5, 62%, say this is their religious affiliation. Meanwhile, 1 in 5, 19%, Latino adults say they are Protestant.
Same thing. Go ahead.
And 14% say they are unaffiliated with any religion.
Read on.
Among Hispanics, twice as many say they are born again.
They are what?
Born again. Or evangelical Protestants as say they are mainline Protestants. 13% versus 6%. Only small percentages of Hispanics identify with other religions, such as Mormonism, Orthodox Christianity, Judaism, or Buddhism.
All right, scroll down some. Let me see. Hold on right there. That's all I need on that. Go back to Jeremiah 17:4. They have went and established their own righteousness. The thing is, when in these times right now, they're coming in slowly but surely, but when you bring the truth of God to them, they don't want to hear it. They are fully set in Catholicism. There is no other way to God but through the Catholic idol. Read that, Jeremiah 17. Let's read 4 and 5.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
So our brothers in the Hispanic Latino have discontinued from the commandments of God that he gave us. Read on.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord.
Catholicism is trusting in man. Because when you examine Catholicism, you can't find the stuff that they push in the Bible. But they don't see outside of that, don't want to see outside of that. Therefore, they trust in man. Read on.
Verse 6. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited.
So that means you shall be destroyed physically, spiritually, and mentally. Destroyed when you trust in man. Read on.
Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heath cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit.
What's that going into? The Lord will bless you. He'll lead you in the right paths to find the heritage that you was disconnected from. He'll bless you and lead your steps aright to where he'll place the truth in front of you. Now the choice, the decision is going to be on you. Go to 2 Chronicles 15. 2 Chronicles, let's read 15, 1 through 6.
This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 15, verse 1. And the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded. And he went out to meet Asa, and said unto him, Hear ye me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you while you be with him. And if you seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you.
He will forsake you. So that destroys the whole God loves you no matter what. That's fictional. That's fairy tale. That's Catholicism. Read on.
Verse 3. Now for a long season Israel have been without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law.
Without law. When it says Israel, and it just makes a distinction between Judah and Israel, that's referring to the northern kingdom. So it says Israel have been without a teacher, a teaching priest, and without law for a long season. That's why Paul in Romans said they went and about to establish their own what? Righteousness. They got a zeal, but it's not according to knowledge. Read on.
Verse 4. But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord God of Israel and sought him, he was found of them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out.
There was no peace. Read on.
Nor to him that came in. But great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city. For God did vex them with all adversity.
Okay, so why were they without God for a long time? Give me a show of hands. Why were they without God? And speaking of Israel, Paul talked about in Romans 10. Why were they without God? This should be fresh in a lot of you brothers' minds. I don't want to. Let me see. Matthias had his hand up. Why were they without God for a long time?
Because God stopped dealing with them. They went into idolatry. They was cut off.
They went into idolatry. Exactly right. Now, a lot of people, when we go into that, the first thing we start with is we go talking about Northern Kingdom. But when you want to talk about Israel being cut off, you always got to start with Southern Kingdom. Why is that? Go to Isaiah. I'm going to show you why. This is why you got to start with Southern Kingdom when it comes to our Hispanic brothers being cut off. Isaiah chapter 1, and let's read verse 6.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 6. For the sole of the foot unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed.
Jump up to verse 5. That's what I want.
Verse 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick.
The whole head is sick. Read.
And the whole heart faint.
What's the head tribe in the nation of Israel? Who is it, brothers? Judah. So the head is sick, then the whole body is sick. So when you talk about Israel being without God for a long season, you got to start with Southern Kingdom to understand why they are where they are today. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11, and let's read 1 through 13.
This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, woman of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
All right, get somebody. Who's the Moabites today? Who are they today? Who's that? LaRon had his hand up first. Who are the Moabites today?
So-called Chinese, sir.
The Chinese, okay. Who are the Ammonites? Give it a Josiah. Josiah, that's what it is. There we go. Josiah. Who is that?
Ammonites are the Japanese.
Japanese, right? Okay. Edomites. Who are the Edomites, brothers? Who are they? Just say it. So-called white man. Okay, Zidonians and Hittites. Who are those? Just say it. Ham. You can't say Africans because we got brothers and sisters in Africa. You got to say Hamites. It's a difference. Those are Hamites, all right? Read verse 2.
Verse 2. Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart.
You would think with all them women, it would be more peace of mind. You would be relaxed, you know, your tank on empty. But that wasn't it at all. You read the book, the song, the Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. He tells you things about having all them women around. It was a headache. That's why God said you just need one. Just focus on one, brothers. Read on.
Verse 4. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father.
Read on.
For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians.
Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Hamites. Read on.
And after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
So he's serving Hamite gods, Japanese gods. Read on.
And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab.
So he threw some Chinese gods in there. Go ahead.
In the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods.
Now let's see what God says about that. Read on.
Verse 9. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice.
2 times God spoke to him directly. Read on.
And had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded.
So we'll get more into it, but off top, there's a reason why the first law of the Most High is thou shalt have no other gods. You wanna send God to 0 to 100 real quick? Give his honor and his glory of all that he has created and all that he does for you to somebody else. Like any parent. All the stuff you do for him, and then I want to spend the night at my uncle's house. What the? Automatically. They ain't putting food in your belly. They ain't taking care of you. Same thing with God. How dare you give my glory and the honor I do for you to something else? That'll make God mad. Read on.
Verse 11. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, For as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant.
That's why I say you got to start with Southern Kingdom first. You got to start with Southern Kingdom to understand Hispanic heritage today. Read on.
Verse 12. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend it away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen.
Now jump over to verse 26. That one tribe was Judah, and in Jerusalem stayed Benjamin, right? And then Levi came from all the other lands, and they fell down to in Jerusalem for a reason. And we're going to read it. Read verse 26 now.
1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 26. And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite, of Zeradah, Zeradah, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zeruah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king.
So let's find out. It says Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite. Pull up the definition of Ephrathite for me that I got. Ephrathite, so we can understand what we're reading. All right. So you see Bethlehemite. Bethlehem was, we understand that was in the land of Jerusalem. But an Ephrathite, Bethlehemite, go down, Ephraimite. So Ephrathite is an Ephraimite. And we'll get more definitions of why. Now go to the settlement of the Ephrathites. So we can understand what we read in here. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeradah. Pull it up. So the settlement of the Ephrathites in Bethlehem and the location of Rachel's tomb. Scroll down. Okay, I'll read this real quick. The abstract. It says, the article discusses the two biblical locations of Rachel's tomb, one in northern Benjamin and the other north of Bethlehem. It posits that Ephraimite families migrated to North Judah, settled in the Bethlehem district, and were called Ephrathites after their place of origin. So Ephrathite means you got Ephraim coming out of their land and just living in North Judah. Go to Zeradah. Go to Zeradah. All right, Zeradah. Read that for me, officer.
Zeradah, the fortress, a city on the north of Mount Ephraim.
Because it says that he was Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeradah. This is where he was born at, but his family came to live in North Judah. They was called Ephrathites. Go back to it. Let's finish it out.
The birthplace of Jeroboam, 1 Kings 11 and verse 26. It is probably the same Zeradah in Joshua chapter 3 and verse 16, Zerareth in Judges chapter 7 and verse 22, and Zartana in 1 Kings chapter 4 and verse 12, or the following.
Okay, so we understand Zeradah is a city in Ephraim, but an Ephrathite is somebody who left their city and came to live in North Judah. Let's read verse 26 again.
Verse 26, and Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeradah.
So we speaking of Ephraim, a so-called Puerto Rican, right? That's who we reading about. Solomon's servant. Read on.
Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was
Zeruiah.
A widow woman. Even he lifted up his hand against the king. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon built Miloah and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father.
Read on.
And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man, made that he was industrious.
The young man that he was.
That he was industrious. He made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph.
So Jeroboam was the manager of what you could say of all the northern kingdom tribes. He was the head man when it came to the building up of the cities roundabout, building things in Jerusalem, going to Haran and staying out there in those mountains. Jeroboam was over all of that. Whenever northern kingdom, what does it say right here? The house of Joseph, they had something they wanted to discuss with the king. Jeroboam would bring it to the king. He was the point man of Ephraim, of all the 10 tribes. Read on.
Verse 29. And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah and the Shilonite,
Ahijah the Shilonite
found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they too were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee.
Give you 10 tribes, Jeroboam. Read.
But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake.
Which was Judah. Go ahead.
The city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. Because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgment, as did David his father.
Read on.
Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David, my servant's sake, whom I chose because he kept my commandments and my statutes.
Read on.
But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. And unto his son will I give 1 tribe, that David, my servant, may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth, and shalt be king over Israel.
You shall be king over Israel, Jeroboam. Read on.
And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and will walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes, my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Israel unto thee.
Jeroboam, all you got to do is keep the commandments. That's the only stipulation I ask of you. You'll be king over 10 tribes. Whatever your mind thinks to do, you can do it as long as you keep my commandments. Read on.
Verse 39. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever.
But not forever. Read on.
Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon.
All right, let's see. Go to 1 Kings chapter 12, and let's start at verse 12.
This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day.
If you haven't read the history of Jeroboam and Rehoboam, just read 1 Kings chapter 12. I'm jumping to key points. All right, read on.
The 3rd day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old man's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young man, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastened you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions.
What Jeroboam and Rehoboam will teach you, although it's ordained of God, the Lord put it there for a reason. Don't be counseling with people that is spiritually on the same level as you, same age as you. What do you think I should do? How old are you? 27? How are you? 27? Oh, let's counsel amongst each other. There ain't no vision to see past the life experience that you have. A lot of brothers do that today and make quick decisions, jump in, and then somebody been here before you like, hey, did you think about this? Oh, dang, I didn't. Let me backtrack. Counsel with somebody that is above your strength, not on the same playing field. All right, read that again, verse what? 15 now.
Verse 15. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents.
That's what's called the split, right? Now, when did this happen? What's the time frame of when this? El Hanan, give me the date of when this happened. Around what time frame?
931 BC.
Around 931 so BC. The split happened. Why? Because southern kingdom, Solomon, went off into his sin. And God judged the whole nation for it. Read on.
Verse 17. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them.
That would be Simeon. Their land was in the land of Judah. So they were still rolling with Judah right after the split. Read on.
Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones that he died.
So he tried to go collect taxes. They stoned him. Let him know we ain't playing. This split's for real. Go ahead.
Therefore, King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah
But
only.
the tribe of Judah only. Now jump over to, let's see what I want. Verse 25.
Verse 25.
Jeroboam's king now, right? God, the only stipulation that God told him to do was what, brothers? Let's see what was in Jeroboam's spirit. Read.
Verse 25. Then Jeroboam
From
built,
what tribe is Jeroboam from? So-called Puerto Ricans today, right? Read.
Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim,
So he built a city. Go ahead.
and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel.
Penuel means like, I think it's the face of God, right? So he built his own little temple. Read.
And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of the people turn again unto their Lord.
Because time heals all wounds. Jeroboam was wickedly smart. Time heals all wounds. He understood that if they keep going back and forth, eventually we'll get back on good terms. We are brothers. We are the house of Israel. I got to do something to keep that from happening so I can stay king. It says, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto the Lord. Read on.
Even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah. And they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah. Whereupon the king took counsel, and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem.
With slick words, he deceived them. Read on.
Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
So immediately he set up idols. Well, and it wasn't any type of idols. It was idols from where? Where did these idols come from? Officer Bartimaeus, up here. Where did these idols come from?
Came from Egypt.
Came from Egypt. We've been 400 years removed from Egypt. When you read the book of Judges, that was a 430-year span. But the first thought in him was, let's get them idols from Egypt. It was always in Northern Kingdom Brothers' spirit to worship idols. Never let them go, truly. Never let them go. Same thing today. Go to the book, A History of Jewish People. Page 68. This is the truth about Hispanic heritage. Read that where it says Jeroboam.
Jeroboam, 933 to 912, was determined upon detaching Israel from Judah, both politically and religiously. So much had the temple of Jerusalem accomplished that it stood for a religious centralization, which proved attractive to the thoughtful men even in Israel.
Okay, I got it here. All right, so the reason the Lord created the temple is so all of us can have one place to come and fellowship together. Same thing now. We got little sanctuaries scattered everywhere so we can all come together, be of one mind, one spirit. The spirit of the Lord is here when 2 or 3 are gathered together. Not when you're on the other side of a computer screen watching. You ain't gathered with nobody. You're just watching online. You're individualite. Go back to it. It says, it was therefore necessary to lead the people back to the idea of religious decentralization, such as had anciently prevailed. So he's like, I got to break things up. From now on, the North put itself squarely upon the position of the earlier Mosaic legislation, which conceded more than one sanctuary in a given period. So he created another place, Penuel. Accordingly, Jeroboam made it a point to restore the worship in 2 sanctuaries of notable standing, the one at Dan and the other at Bethel. Both were endowed as royal shrines. But the very prophetic circles which had made Jeroboam cause their own were alienated from him when he set up in these 2 sanctuaries miniature bull figures overlaid with gold. These golden calves, as they were called, were derived from the Canaanite religion, Hamite, in which they symbolized the god of the storm and of vegetation. Do you see why God get mad? Set up an idol for storm and vegetation. I'll make the rain drop. I'll cause the grass to grow. You go overlay it with a damn golden calf and bow down to that? Destruction for you. Go back to it. Okay, it says here, the Canaanite religion in which they symbolize the god of storm and of vegetation. Mosaism received a setback. The laws of Moses was set back. The religion of the north reverted to Canaanite paganism. It was a fatal step not only on the religious side. The kingdom of Israel, immersed in idolatry, lost the consciousness of national distinctiveness, which from the very beginning was linked to the religious. Your nationality and your way of life go hand in hand. Nationality, laws, Israelites. You can't have one without the other. They go hand in hand. That's the way that God made it, because the laws was given to nobody else but to who, brothers? That's it. It goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So when you detach from those laws, you start to become another people. Foreigners, Gentiles, strangers. Go back to it. Okay, no, zoom out, man. Okay, there we go. Mosaism received a setback. The religion of the north reverted to Canaanite paganism. It was a fatal step not only on the religious side. The kingdom of Israel, immersed in idolatry, lost the consciousness of national distinctiveness, which from the very beginning was linked to the religious, and thus entered upon a downward course which led to its ruin. Let's drop that. Go to Hosea 4, and let's read 17.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 17. Ephraim is joined to idols.
Ephraim is joined to idols, Canaanite idols, Hamite gods. Read.
Let him alone.
Let him alone. That's why he's been gone, from detached from God for a long season. Let him alone. Don't deal with him. Jump up to verse 12.
Verse 12. My people ask counsel at their stocks, and their staff declareth unto them, for the spirit of whoredom have caused them to err, and they have gone a whoring from under their God.
From under their God, worshiping idols. Deuteronomy 28. Here's the result. Deuteronomy 28. Let's read 15.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
All these curses. Read.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Is it? Cursed shall be in the city, cursed shall be in the field. This is one thing that that is hidden from us when it comes to our Hispanic brothers suffering the same curses as we is. Hispanic. Y'all got so many names like we do. We'll get into it here. Northern Kingdom. I'm trying to speak their language so they understand. Hispanics is catching hell in the cities just as much as Judah is. Just as much as Judah is. But it's hidden for a reason. Catching hell in the fields just as much as we are. But it's not put on a mainstream scope because Babylon the Great can't handle Judah and Israel at the same time. They can't handle both of us rising up. That's why the 60s was so turbulent, because Judah rose up, and then right behind us came Northern Kingdom, Hispanic brothers. And it was called the turbulent what? Who's a little older? What was it called? The turbulent what? Turbulent 60s. It was called that for a reason. Because Judah and Israel, blacks and Hispanics, almost came together. It was called the turbulent 60s. But now they have really laid on the philosophy. We getting cursed in the city and cursed in the field. Both of us. Jump up to verse 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long.
Give me an example of what that is given to another people today. Who's that? Brother Benjamin over there? What is that talking about? Remember the context of the class. Given to another people.
Shalom, sir.
Shalom.
The cages, they're in
You right.
ICE facilities.
ICE facilities called detention centers.
Yes, sir.
Exactly right. These are the curses that's falling on our Hispanic brothers. Read it again, verse 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
Read.
Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
What does that mean? How do we make our Hispanic brothers understand that? The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation that thou knowest not eat up. Abel, state the tribe you in when you stand up so we can see.
Tribe of Zebulon.
Tribe of Zebulon. Okay.
Yeah, that goes into colonialism with the
Okay.
stealing the land.
That was 200-300 years ago. What about now? How is that applied now? Because the curses ain't left. It ain't
Right.
like Northern Kingdom ain't still getting jacked up in the city and in the field.
Well, like the Northern Kingdom countries, they pay taxes to Spain. So
Give it to Officer
Eliab?
Eliab. Yeah. Let's give it to Northern Kingdom. What tribe you from?
Tribe of Zebulon.
Zebulon. All right. Y'all
Yeah,
right.
like today, most like for example, Honduras grows bananas, orange, and we never prosper out of it.
Okay.
And there's also Dominican Republic with the sugar cane. We all prosper.
It's one thing they do with it, though. Y'all missing it. I don't want to have to give it to a Southern Kingdom.
They have us slaving over the land with the products, but then they sell it back to us.
Okay. All right. What's the word for that? What's the word for it? They sell it back to you. It's something in between that. It's called export. He was close. Lamb, but no herb. They exported the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not. Them nice bananas and stuff you get in Walmart, that stuff ain't grown here.
Hey,
It's
Cap.
grown in Honduras and Peru and all of that. Shipped here.
Right. And Cap, I told him even the coconuts, all these stuff, the materials, and we spoke about that before. They're like, yeah, that's how they making money. That's how they bring it. I said, yeah, you got it.
That's how you got to be able to relate this stuff so our people can understand their true Hispanic heritage. They under the curses, but they don't think they are. That stuff be exported and they sell it back to you. They ain't picking that off the tree in Honduras and taking it straight into the supermarket. It goes straight to the processing center and then it's exported and then they import it back in and tax you on it. That's a curse. Read verse 33 again.
Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
Pull up the article of police killings. Read that for me, officer.
Police killings of Latinos lack attention, say activists.
See, police kill. It's almost at this same rate as blacks. It's gonna say it in this article. Read that up underneath it. It's like
they don't care about Latinos and the racism we face.
It's like we're invisible to these people. Black lives matter. Hell, we can start our own Hispanic lives matter. It really ain't no difference between us. Not at all. It's just hid, pushed up under the radar. Go back to it. Scroll down some. Let's scroll down and read it. Latinos for Black Lives Matter. We're gonna tap at Latino stuff too. Read that real quick. Is that what I want on that? Let me make sure. Go to start at activists say. Scroll down. I gotta get straight right there. Read that.
Activists say cases from Phoenix to Springfield, Massachusetts, point to patterns of violent interactions by police against Latinos, similar to those of black people.
I wonder why. Read on.
As with the killings of black men and women, officers rarely face punishment in the death of Latinos. However, Latino cases seldom garner national attention, even when caught on video.
Even when caught on video. That's why I said that time was called the turbulent 60s. You don't think the scriptures talk about in Daniel, it says thou art wiser than Daniel. You don't think that they learned that blacks and Hispanics coming together created the turbulent 60s? We couldn't handle them. We cannot let them come together anymore. You don't think they put plans in motion to keep you divided? One of those plans is by the use of media. Whenever we kill Latinos, Hispanic brothers, don't put that on the news. Don't do it. We can't handle it. Go back to it.
The lack of attention around Latinos and police highlights how little is known about Latino history in the U.S. and the racism endured in the America's Southwest and the U.S.-Mexico border. It also marks the backlash some Mexican Americans face when trying to join the national conversation about race.
Because when you talk about it, man, y'all ain't, this is what we say, because there's so much less of attention on it. Man, ain't that y'all out here living it up. Look, y'all got restaurants over here. Y'all got nice cars over here. Y'all voting for Trump over there. We shun our brothers whenever they try to get in and they talk about, hey, we being oppressed too. Not us, because we understand. But to the average Joe out there, man, y'all ain't suffering nothing like we are. They don't even want to let them into the conversation, which further creates the divide, keeps the split that happened way back in 931. Go back to it.
According to the Washington Post.
No, read that. It's like.
Oh, it's like they don't care about Latinos and the racism we face, said Frank Alvarado, a senior, 76.
76 years old. He's talking about it like they don't care. 76. So this ain't a new thing. Go back to it.
A retired U.S. Marine whose son was shot multiple times by Salinas, California police in 2014. Alvarado had since joined Black Lives Matter protests in nearby Sacramento.
So we get that's on a carnal level. Now we got to get it on a spiritual level where we join together. But that comes with them learning the truth about Hispanic heritage. Read that next paragraph. That's the one I wanted to get to. According
to the Washington Post, between 2015 and April 2020, black Americans are killed at the highest rate in the U.S.
Highest rate, we understand it. Go ahead.
31 per million residents. Latinos are killed at the second highest rate.
At the second highest rate.
23 per million residents. According to the newspaper analysis, both are disproportionate rates considering their percentage of the population.
Disproportionate rates. There's no way this many blacks should be getting killed. No way this many Latinos shall be getting killed. But the scripture says Judah and Israel was what, brothers? Wherever you going to find us in statistics, guess who you going to find in second place? His so-called Latinos. Hispanics. Second, right behind us. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:49.
There's a lot of history on that. Not only for the killing, but like we was talking about, like the turbulent 60s. Like we was talking, you got the Black Panthers, you had the Brown Berets,
Yep.
and believe it or not,
you had AIM with
you
the
had
North
AIM
American.
with the North American, and they all was following Judah.
Yep.
They all was, and a lot of that, even the gangs today, the
Yeah.
Northern Kingdom gangs, they all follow Judah. They say, you know, when the Bloods and the Crips was going,
Yeah. That's
they
where
say
you got the Latin Kings and all that stuff. They did the same thing we did.
Same thing.
We created those things at first out of protection and things of that nature for our people, and then it morphed into something wicked. Same thing with Northern Kingdom.
Yep.
Read that Deuteronomy 28 and 49 through 51.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies.
The eagle, the symbol of the Spaniards, the eagle. The Americans, eagle. Read on.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
They didn't speak Hebrew. They didn't speak Spanish when they first got here. Read on.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave there either corn.
Leave thee
either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he hath destroyed thee.
So that destruction goes into the language being changed. Right? Now you speak their language like we speak daggone English. Ate up all your land, conquered your land, and then set up democracy on it. And make you vote for who they want to rule over your land. Damn, that's a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. They took your land, your fruit, your cattle, all of that, and it's not restored. Jump over to verse 68.
Verse 68.
This is one thing Hispanic brothers got to understand. Read that.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Give me the precept for Egypt. Exodus 20 and 2. Let's go to it real quick.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
House of bondage. Egypt is the house of bondage, which means slavery, right? Go back to Deuteronomy 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Slavery.
With ships.
With ships. A lot of our Hispanic brothers do not know they went into slavery on ships. They only keep that subjugated for blacks. That's only for y'all. Y'all was slave on ships. They don't understand they Hispanic heritage. Read on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
No man shall buy you. I want to get into that real quick. This is just for us understanding of what it means, no man shall buy you. Go to Leviticus chapter 25, because it's confusing to people when they see what it says, no man shall buy you. The NIV says that you shall offer yourselves for slaves and nobody should buy you. You don't actually understand what that means. So even if you do got an NIV now, you can understand what it means, no man shall buy you, after this precept. Leviticus 25 verse 47 on down.
This is the book of Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 47. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger.
Do what?
And sell himself unto the stranger.
You know, that's how they got their NIV. You shall sell yourselves and nobody shall buy you. Well, here's why you sell yourself and nobody of your brethren shall buy you. Read.
Or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family. After that he is sold, he may be redeemed again.
Nobody will buy you, because in this captivity right here, read the next verse.
One of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he be able, he may redeem himself.
They can't buy you or redeem you because they was going to be in slavery right along with you. Go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. Now you understand what it means that no man shall buy you. They were going in slavery with you. Your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your next of kin, hell, even you was going in slavery. Nobody shall buy you out of this servitude. Read it again, verse 68.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Because your uncle, your uncle's son, your aunt, your next of kin will be in slavery right along with you. I pray y'all understand that. Now go to the book. That's easy to be understood once you put the precepts together. That's why nobody will be able to buy you, meaning redeem you out of that servitude. Pull up the book. Black Indians. If you don't got this book, you should get it. A Hidden Heritage by William Loren Katz. All right, let's go to the page 27. Let's read all of it. Read the top of it.
It began with Columbus.
Zoom in on it so everybody can see. We'll just scroll down as we go. All right, read it again.
It began with Columbus. For the people of the Americas, the arrival of Columbus was hardly a blessing.
It was a what, brothers? It wasn't a blessing. It was a what?
Curse.
There you go. Read.
On his first day, October 12, 1492, the explorer wrote in his diary, I took some of the natives by force.
I took them by force. Read.
He later found the original inhabitants to be tractable, peaceable.
What's another word for peaceable? What do they call them? The what? Tainos. Peaceable. Read.
And concluded, there is not in the world a better nation.
Oh, I agree with that. Deuteronomy 7:6 says that. Columbus knew what he was looking at. There's nobody better than these people on the face of the earth. Read.
His response as a European was to say that Indians must be made to work and adopt our ways.
What does that mean, adopt our ways? What is he referring to? Adopt our ways. What is he talking about? Adopt our ways. Amaziah Ephraim. What is he telling about these Hispanics, these Latinos must adopt our ways? What is he talking about?
They must leave their customs, their heritage, and follow our ways.
And what ways is that today? We went over there earlier. The first article I pulled up. Southern Kingdom, save them. Oh no, we got another. Give it a Pagiel. He's Northern Kingdom. Kinda. He's Northern Kingdom.
100%.
Yeah, that's right.
Christianity.
Christianity. They have to adopt our ways, meaning our religion. Go back to it. I have no idea where you at. Okay, there we go. The Christopher Columbus.
The Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship and courage had opened the Americas to European penetration, also began the transatlantic slave trade.
He began the what?
Transatlantic slave trade.
If you paid attention to the classes and the books Bishop bring out, Bartolomeo de las Casas is the one who told him, go get the black people from the West Coast. That's what he told him. Killing off the Indians, go get the black people and leave them alone. Read that.
He started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men and women to Seville, Spain.
He sent them on what? A ship. Read.
In 1498, he wrote enthusiastically to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella.
The same ones that were shipping Southern Kingdom to the west coast of Africa at the same exact time. Read.
About the business possibilities. From here, in the name of the Blessed Trinity, we can send all the slaves that can be sold.
Wow. Go ahead.
When he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women aboard 4 Spanish ships.
Aboard what?
4 Spanish ships.
Uh-huh.
The crowding and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll.
Read.
Only 300 survived. But Columbus and Spain had decided to continue the profitable slave trade from the Americas.
They didn't care. They didn't say, oh, you know what? This is too rough of a terrain for them, taking them over the water. Let's stop. So they didn't do that. They kept on enslaving Hispanic brothers. Go back to it. So for those that say the white man love you, no, he don't. Read on Spanish priests. Oh, is that it on that? Only 300. Seville became the slave capital of Spain. They were selling us and our Hispanic brothers in Spain. Bishop might go over it later. Go to it. Spanish priests. Read that.
Spanish priests were the first to denounce the horrors of bondage.
Yeah, right.
In 1511, Dominicans...
Hey, this is how you know that's a lie. This is because the book I just mentioned earlier said they detest the horrors of bondage. Well, why did they tell them to go pick up Judah and Benjamin and Levi from the west coast of Africa? Why did they say, hey, you shouldn't be doing slavery. It is wrong all the way from top to bottom. They didn't say that. They said, just go get the blacks over there. Replace them. That's a lie. Go back to it. Spanish priests were the first to denounce the horrors of bondage. Yeah, right. Go ahead, read.
In 1511, Dominican friar Montesinos called slavery a mortal sin and said cruelty and tyranny over Indians could not be justified by Christians.
Read on.
A few years later, Bishop Las Casas, who had witnessed countless Indian massacres by his fellows...
Go to page 28. Zoom in on it for us.
...by his fellow Spaniards, blamed greed for the horrors. They kill them, Indians, because they want to be rich and have much gold, which is their sole aim. Las Casas concluded...
That's the God that they serve. Gold, oil, and what, brothers?
Drugs.
Drugs. Money. Go ahead.
Las Casas concluded that in the New World, Spaniards had become devils and Indians were the only true Christians.
They've always been devils, not just in the New World. Go ahead.
Las Casas led a determined effort to halt Indian bondage. He pointed out the Indians died off by the thousands from slavery and European diseases. Forced labor in Spanish mines in the Americas was so harsh that the average worker died before he was 26.
Wow. What's the life expectancy of blacks in America? How old is it? Anybody know? It's 25. Northern Kingdom was dying at 26. Oppressed together. Go back to it. Read on.
To meet their need for more laborers, Europeans looked next to Africa.
Las Casas told him to go to Africa. Read.
The strongest sons and daughters of Africa were seized in their homes or fields or purchased from local traders.
That's Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Go ahead. And some of them, and Northern Kingdom was mixed in there too. Go ahead.
They were packed into cargo ships and shipped across the Atlantic.
Now look, that picture right. Read what's underneath on the bottom.
Since the 1500s, the mixture of people, Native American, African American, and Spanish priests shown here at the Shiprock Indian Agency.
So not me, but some of y'all might be walking through the tribe, the gate of Gad on that judgment day. Not me. I ain't going through that. Lord, no. Send me through Judah. Hey, as long as I make it to one of them, Lord's will. Go back to it. All right, Indian Agency. So we was always together. It says have been part of the southwestern U.S. history. Go to the next page, 29. Let's read that. Zoom in on it.
Thomas Breonna, a Dublin youth who for many years served as a seaman aboard slave ships, described the boarding scene. Children are torn from their distracted parents.
Hold on, that sounds very familiar. Go ahead.
Parents from their screaming children, wives from their frantic husbands, husbands from their violated wives, brothers from their loving sisters, sisters from their affectionate brothers. See them collected in flocks and like a herd of swine driven to the ships. They cry, they struggle, they resist, but all in vain. No eye pities, no hand helps.
This is why Trump wants to take out that 1619 project and replace it with the 1776, whatever it's called, patriotism. That's why he wants to do that, because this is the reality of what we faced. Right now, he's talking about black people right now on those slave ships. That's who he's talking about right now, right? Go back to it. Go drop the bars and let's read that.
The first Africans brought to the New World by European slavers probably arrived in April 1502.
Right.
Aboard the ship that brought the new governors of Hispaniola.
That's why the history's been coming out of the dark ages of when we was conquered. They started to ship us from Seville, the same place they was picking up Northern Kingdom, Hispanics here, taking them back to Spain. They was taking us from Spain and sending us over here. All of us was on ships at the same time. It just might have been a different ship. Go back to it. 1502, aboard the ship. Go ahead.
Aboard the ship that brought the new governor of Hispaniola, Nicolas de Ovando. Soon after they landed, some Africans escaped to the woods and found a new home among the Native Americans. Later that year, Governor Ovando sent a request to King Ferdinand that no more Africans be sent to the Americas.
No more Jews be sent to America. It's books. We went over class before of who they were shipping from there. The books tell you it was Jews they were shipping, right? Send no more Jews to America. For what reason? Read. Pull it up, y'all. Come on.
His reason was simple. They fled amongst the Indians and taught them bad customs and never could be captured.
We taught them bad customs, right? Go ahead.
Why did he feel they could never be retaken? Had the two peoples united as a military force at this early
united as a military force? Were they a military force? Go ahead.
Were Native Americans prepared to drive off European slave hunters?
Was they going to come together with the so-called blacks? Go ahead.
Was an alliance taking shape in the woods between two peoples who opposed the Spanish conquerors? The answer to these questions are unclear.
BS. We know why they told them to stop sending them. Because if these people ever come together, it's nothing we can do. That's why I said don't send no more. The few that went away, that ran off, we can't handle them already, and they've gathered themselves together with the Hispanics. Go to the book of the devastation of the Indies. Now, we read that was talking about blacks, right? Let's read that. In the devastation of the Indies. Pull up the book so everybody can see it. We show these books. It should have a cover to that. There's a cover to it. There's a cover to it. Come on, man. Work with me. There we go. So if you don't, devastation of the Indies, you don't have that book, you should get it. Read it, all of it. You can read it in a week. You won't be able to put it down once you start reading it. It is like you are there. The Lord put it on that Edomite spirit to record in detail of what these Edomites did to our brothers when they got off those ships in 1492. The devastation of the Indies. Go ahead, go to the next page. Let's zoom in on that and read it. Now remember, they was talking about Africans, black people, right? Let's see how similar that sounds to Hispanic history. Read that.
They have brought to the island of Hispaniola and the island of San Juan more than 2 million souls taken by captives.
San Juan, Puerto Rico. Go ahead. Hispaniola, the DR. Go ahead.
And
Haiti, DR, same thing. Go ahead.
And have sent them to do hard labor in the mines.
Even will be technical. Go ahead.
Labor that caused many of them to die.
You better repent. That's Haiti. That ain't DR. Yeah, I called it. You better repent. Go ahead.
And it is a great sorrow and heartbreak to see this coastal land, which was so flourishing, now a depopulated desert.
Cursed in the city. Depopulated desert. Read.
This is truth that can be verified. For no more do they bring ships loaded with Indians.
They bring what?
Ships loaded with Indians.
They bring ships loaded with Indians. Read on.
That have been thus attacked and captured as I have related. No more do they cast overboard into the sea the third part of the numerous Indians they stole on their vessels.
So they was throwing Puerto Ricans over the ship. Don't we see that in movies about black people? Throwing Amistad, throwing right over the ship to the sharks. They used to throw Hispanics over the ships the same way. Go back to it. No more do they cast overboard. Find it for them. No more do they cast overboard. There you go.
No, I don't see it.
You don't see that line?
Top
Right
third
there.
line. Okay. Bring ships loaded with Indians. Okay, I see it. No more do they have cast overboard into the sea the third part of numerous Indians they stole on their vessels. These dead beings added to those they have killed in their native lands. The captives crowded into the holds of their ships without food or water, or with very little, so as not to deprive the Spanish tyrants who call themselves ship owners.
Ship owners. So you Puerto Ricans, you Dominicans, you Hondurans, you was on ships too. Go ahead.
And who carry enough food for themselves on their voyage of attack, and for the pitiful Indians who died of hunger and thirst, there is no remedy but to cast them into the sea. And verily, as a Spaniard told me, their ships in these regions could voyage without compass or chart.
They didn't even need a map. For what reason?
Merely by following the distance between the
How you say that?
Lacayos Islands.
I don't trust Leon's Spanish.
Lacayos. Lacayos Islands and Hispaniola.
He was raised around Judah.
Hey, my case and their case is different.
Lacayos Islands and Hispaniola,
which is 60 or 70 leagues. The traces of.
Next page. The trace of. Zoom in so we can read it. The trace of what?
The trace of those Indian corpses floating in the sea.
They didn't even need a map. They just followed the dead bodies. That's how many was getting put on ships. Corpses that meant no, we don't need a map. No. Just follow the trail of dead bodies. It's too many for the sharks in the water to even eat. Go back.
The sharks was already full.
They was full. They didn't want no more. Corpses, read on.
Corpses that had been cast overboard by earlier ships.
Read on.
Afterward, when the disembark.
When they disembark.
When they disembark on the island of Hispaniola, it is heartbreaking to see the naked Indians. Heartbreaking for anyone with a vestige
of piety.
Vestige of piety. The famished state they are in, fainting and falling down. weak from hunger, men, women, old people, and children.
Men, women, old people, and children. Read.
Then, like sheep, they are sorted out into flocks of 10 or 20 persons, separating fathers from sons.
Separating what?
Fathers from sons, wives from husbands. And the Spaniards draw lots, the ship owners carrying off their share.
Separating fathers from sons, wives from husbands. The same exact thing we just read in the Black Indians book about Africans. Read.
The best flock to compensate them for the monies they have invested in their fleet of 2 or 3 ships. The ruffian tyrants getting their share of captives who will be house slaves, and when in reprimando, a tyrant gets an old person or an invalid, he says, invalid, he says, why do you give me this one? To bury him? And this sick one, do you give him to me to make him well? See, by such remarks in the esteem of the Spaniards hold the Indians and judge if they are accomplishing the divine concept of love for our fellow man, as laid down by the prophets.
They ain't love you, they still don't love you. Same exact history that happened to blacks is the same exact Hispanic heritage history that happened to them. On ships, separated from fathers, fathers from sons, women from daughters. Go back to Deuteronomy 28 and let's read verse 68.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Slavery again.
With ships.
With a ship. Jump over to verse 32 now.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
In this case, it was the Spaniards. For the Hispanic, it was the Spaniards. For us, it was the British, the French, the Dutch. Read it again.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
Now jump up to verse 37.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee.
You shall be called by another name. Give me the article. Give me the article of Hispanic and Latino. Y'all been hearing me. I've been having a hard time. I don't know what to call them. Just like they don't know what to call us. We confused the same way they confused too. They just act like they got it all together because most Northern Kingdom tuck in their shirt. If they didn't grow up around Judah.
Okay.
He tried to say pull that article, Hispanic and Latino. Hispanic and Latino. Listen to the confusion in this, y'all. You will be called by another name, a byword. Let's read the first 2 paragraphs. Read that real quick.
The ethonyms, Hispanic or Latino, are used to refer collectively to the inhabitants of the United States who are of Latin American or Spanish origin.
Which one is it? Go ahead.
See Hispanic and Latino Americans. The usage of both terms has changed to adapt to a wide range of geographical and historical influences. The term Hispanic was used first. Later, some Hispanics in the western United States came to prefer the term Latino. The census does not classify persons of Portuguese or Brazilian descent as Hispanic.
It's the same people, but you're not considered Hispanic. Read on.
As those are Portuguese-speaking population.
Just because you speak a different language.
According to a 2011...
This is how they keep you divided. This is exactly how they keep us divided. Go ahead.
According to a 2011 study by the Pew Research Center, the majority, 51%, of Hispanic and Latino Americans prefer to identify with their family's country of origin, while only 24 prefer the term Hispanic or Latino.
So they don't say, don't call me Hispanic or Latino, I'm Honduran, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Dominican. Don't call me one of those other terms, right? Those are still slave terms in themselves if you really know what they mean. It ain't no better. Read that next paragraph.
While the two terms are sometimes used interchangeably, for example, by the United States Census Bureau, Hispanic is a different term that refers to native speakers of Spanish or have Spanish-speaking ancestry, while Latino is more frequently used to refer generally to anyone of Latin American origin or ancestry, which includes Brazilians.
Ain't that the same place? It's the same exact place. South America, Latin America, it's the same place. Go back to it.
Hispanic.
Why are we going over this? This is the curses of God. Thou shalt be called a byword. Read.
Hispanic thus includes persons from Spain and Spanish-speaking Latin Americans, but excludes Portuguese and Brazilians. Because Brazil's population
210 million
of 210 million is 7 times larger than Spain's population of 47 million.
Because we the sand of the sea. That's why. Go ahead.
And because there are more Brazilian-born Americans, 3,000.
We ain't got to read those numbers.
Than Spanish-born Americans in the United States.
Listen to this, y'all. Read that.
Latino is a border term encompassing more people. The choice between the terms among those Spanish-speaking origin is associated with location. Person of Spanish-speaking origin residing in the eastern United States tend to prefer Hispanic.
So if you stay on the east coast of the United States, call me Hispanic. What if I stay on the other side of the country? Read.
Whereas those in the west tend to prefer Latino.
They call me Latino. You the same damn people, but because you live on different sides of the country, call me something different. I'm not them. That's what keeps us divided as a people. Hell, divided within their own 10 tribes. Go back to it. Jump to history. Jump to history. Now let's read paragraph 2. The term Hispanic.
The term Hispanic was adopted by United States government in the early 1970s.
Hold on. You can't run past that quick. When did Hispanic people become Hispanic? Read it again. Where we at? Come on, y'all.
The term Hispanic was adopted by the United States government in the early 1970s.
You didn't become Hispanic to the 1970s. Go, read on.
During the administration of Richard Nixon.
And a white man named you that. Read on.
After the Hispanic members of the Interdepartmental Ad Hoc Committee to develop racial and ethnic definitions recommended that a universal term encompassing all Hispanic subgroups.
Give us a universal term. That's that American democracy, a universal term that we can all come up under this banner. Go back to it.
All Hispanic subgroups, including Central and South Americans, be adopted.
So they made up a name for you. Read on.
As the 1970 census did not include a question on Hispanic origin on all census forms, instead relying on a sample of the population via an extended form. Is this person's origin or descent Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Central or South American, other Spanish, or none of these?
Jump down to where it says 23 right there. The designation.
The designation has since been used in local and federal employment mass media.
And hold on, it's a comma right there.
Employment, mass media.
Mass media. This is how they changed Hispanic nationality, just like they changed blacks' nationality through mass media. Can y'all keep it up, y'all? Stay with me, y'all. Mass media, and what's the next one?
Academia.
Academia. That's called what? What's another way? Dumb it down. What's another way to say it? Education system. Media and the education system will keep these Negroes and Hispanics destroyed. Guaranteed. And you know what? To further that, we'll give Negroes a Black History Month, and then we'll give Hispanics a Hispanic History Month, and they'll forever stay divided. See they self as different people. Go back to it. Academia and business market research. You know what that business market research is? The Pew Research. Those what we've been pulling up about surveys. They ain't doing that out of because they want to know what you think to make it give you a better life. They ain't doing that. They try to find out what you really think. It has been used in the U.S. Census since 1980 because of the popularity of Latino in the western portion of the United States. The government adopted this term as well in when, brothers? 1997. And used it in the 2000 census. You just became Latino. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna drop that. Go to the next article. It gets even more confusing. We still dealing with the curse of thou shalt be in astonishment, a byword and a proverb. Real quick, Brother Abel, microphone, pay attention.
Yeah, that goes to show that, Ephraim goes to the same thing because in 1985, Judah's name was changed to African American.
There you go.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. All changed around the same time. Read that next article, Latino, Hispanic, Latin. This is from the History Channel, right? Latino, Hispanic, Latinx. Now you are Latinx. Latinx and Chicano. The history behind the term. Scroll down. I'm gonna read this real quick. Let's see where we at. It says here, the terms Latino, Hispanic, and Latinx are often used interchangeably to describe a group that makes up about 18% of the U.S. population, while it's now common to use umbrella terms to categorize those with ties to more than 20 Latin American countries. These words haven't always fostered a sense of community among the people they're supposed to describe. Before activists, the media and government officials worked to group these identities into one. The media and the government. They were seen as separate. Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, for example, lived in different parts of the country and had their own distinct political and cultural identities. Yet as long as there have been people from Latin America countries living in the United States, there have been words to describe them. Some have fallen out of favor while others have evolved. And many of them have a history as complicated as trying to unify multiple nationalities under one banner. That's why we got to seek to the Lord. Seek to the book of the Lord and read. Go back to it, y'all. Come on. All right. Hispanic helps unify communities agenda. The first time the federal government used the word Hispanic in a census was 1980. And look where it came from. The appearance of the term was born from decades of lobbying. It took the debates of the 1970s, the protests of the 1960s to get us to 1980. Judah, off the back of Judah. It was through that. Scroll down some. Hold on, right there. Before 1980, those of Latin American descent were considered Spanish speaking, having Spanish origin, or white on the census. A lot of them identify as white because that's what they had to put down during their time, not knowing who they are. Okay, I'll post that later. Y'all can read it on your own. All right, give me the video. Give me the video of Afro-Mexicans. I want you to pay attention to the stuff that they say. This is what the true Hispanic heritage. Our brothers, they need to know who they are. Pull up the video. Let's play it. Turn it up.
This is the Danza de los Diablos, or the Dance of the Devils. It's performed on South Mexico's Pacific coast, the region with the country's largest concentration of Afro-Mexicans.
No es de la África la danza.
These dances don't come from Africa. They are Mexican, but these instruments are African and we make them ourselves. Now the black people have united with the local culture and mixed with the local people along this coast, and we multiplied, and there are now many black people here.
This country is home to more than 1 million Afro-Mexicans, yet these are marginalized and often forgotten communities. They represent around 1% of the national population. Mexico's 2020 census is the first ever to include Afro-Mexican as an ethnic category. Mexico's legacy of slavery began hundreds of years ago.
The slaves in Mexico were in the places where there was mining. This town was founded around the year 1800, most likely by fugitive slaves who escaped to the coastal regions where they could survive on what they found here.
Today, that original African culture still exists in a state dominated by indigenous tradition. Yet this stretch of coastline between Oaxaca and Guerrero states is an impoverished part of the country. There's not much tourism here, and local industry doesn't extend far beyond fishing and agriculture. Yet few black Mexicans leave to seek better opportunities.
You see, they call them black
and
Mexicans,
those who do find the wider country not very welcoming. Indeed, for Rosa Hernandez, the lead councillor of Santo Domingo Armenta, the Afro-Mexican experience is isolating.
We're a vast minority in this country, so that's why many people have never heard of us.
Opened her mouth,
They
you
think
would think
we're from another country. They don't
light-skinned
consider
black
you to
girl.
be Mexican simply because you're black. But we are Mexicans, and it's only fair that they recognize us, that they value us as much as anyone else.
As the Black Lives Matter movement around the world seeks change and equality for Black Mexico, the challenge for these communities is still at the point of showing they exist. Alistair Baverstock for CGTN, Coajinicuilapa, Mexico.
So our people are lost. They didn't even hear about Black Lives Matter in Oaxaca. Never heard of that stuff down there, right? Go to the next video. I want you to pay attention to something she say.
Rosa Hernandez is the council leader in Santo Domingo Armenta, an Afro-Mexican settlement on Mexico's Pacific coast. While she was vaguely aware of the George Floyd video when it went viral, showing police killing an unarmed African-American, CGTN's visit was the first time she had heard of Black Lives Matter
Never heard
and the
of
fight
it, y'all.
around the world for equality. In this rural and impoverished region, where the majority of Afro-Mexicans live, there's a disconnect with other black communities.
I think that we are isolated here, because if you speak to one of the older generations here, they have never even heard of other countries with large black populations, like those in the Caribbean or Belize or Africa. We're quite disconnected, and we don't know about our origins.
Pause it. Disconnected and don't know their origins. Now look at this. I'm gonna send this to the Sabbath group at our Sabbath class. I want you to pull this up because, contrary to popular belief, right? They knew exactly who they was getting and where they was shipping them. They ain't no black Mexicans. That's Issachar. Remember, we was all dark as a night when we first started out. They are just the ones that fled, the remnants that fled into Africa with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that was living in the land. Here's the proof of it. Pull up that map. Pull up the map, and it's a whole lot. I don't have the time to go into it. I'm gonna give you a little bit of this, and then now you see that's the west coast of Africa, right? You see the Sahara Desert, Nigeria, right? You see all of that, right? Kingdom of Dahomey, the Ashanti. Zoom in on the thing I circled right there. What does that say right there, brothers? Benny Ephraim, son of Ephraim. What the hell are they doing on the west coast of Africa? So when they started picking people up from the west coast, they knew who they was getting. As you can see around there, you see next to it, it says Levite cities, Jewish traces, Dahomey Jews. Up top right there, you see Timbuktu, more Levite cities. They knew who they was getting. They knew where they was placing them. Them ain't no black Mexicans. That's Issachar. It's a video on that too. Deacon Itham went over that. Israel found in Africa and America. You should look that up. Went deep into it. Them ain't black men. But nonetheless, it says that we are disconnected from our heritage. We don't know our what? What did she say? Origins. They don't know where they come from. Even the ones here in America, they might be cut off no internet. Hell, the people here with internet, they still don't know. We got to give it to them. Jeremiah 50, and let's read verse 4.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 4. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping.
Read it again.
Verse 4. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together.
Israel and Judah, blacks and Hispanics shall come together once we learn our true heritage. Both of us. That's when we'll come together. Give me that in Baruch 4:37. What's going to bring us together? Is it politics? Is it Democrats? Is it Republican? What brings blacks and Hispanics together? Read that.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 37. Lo, thy sons come, who thou sentest away. They come, gathered together from the east to the west, by the word of the Holy One.
By the word of the Holy One. The word of God is going to gather us together in righteousness. Go back to Jeremiah 50. Let's read 4 and 5 again.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 4. In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together.
The blacks and the Hispanics coming together. Go ahead.
Going and weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord their God. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to the Lord in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
Now let's go to Exodus chapter 20. How do we gather together and go back to the Lord? Because we can't go back to the Lord unless we got ourselves together, both of us. But we're dealing with Hispanic heritage today. How do they get themselves together to gather with Judah and go back to the Lord? Exodus 20, let's read 1 through 6.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
That what?
That hate me.
Read on.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
So both kingdoms got to put away the worshiping of another god. How does Southern Kingdom worship another god? Say it real quick. Just say it. Just blurt it out. Christianity, well, they do that too. Islam, Muslim, right? White Jesus, Egyptology. Northern Kingdom is mainly caught up in what? What did we read earlier? Catholicism, idolatry, worshiping another god. We both got to put them away, but mainly Northern Kingdom got to put away the idols. All right, read on. Is it on verse 6? Yeah. Go to Isaiah 46. Now, diving more into the idolatry of Northern Kingdom. Name some of the stuff specifically about the idolatry. What do they do? Give me some things that they do. Because this is how we get right, set our face, and go thitherward to God together. I need Northern Kingdom. Officer Eliab, what are some of the things that Northern Kingdom do in their idolatry?
We have prayer.
Just give me one.
They have prayer for every saint.
Prayer for every saint, right? That's one. Give me another one. Give it to Amaziah Ephraim.
Rosary beads.
Rosary beads. I like it. You got to put that away. Abel.
They pray and give gifts to the Virgin Mary.
Virgin Mary giving gifts, right? Here's another one too. Crosses. Crosses. You got to put that thing away. You go to a Hispanic house, it is full of crosses in that thing. Got to put that away. Isaiah 46, 5 through 8.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 46 and verse 5. To whom will ye liken me, and make me equal, and compare me, that we may be alike?
God's asking the question, who's like me? Who can you compare me to? Read on.
They lavish gold out of the bag, and weigh silver in the balance, and hire a goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. They bear him upon shoulder. They carry him, and set him in his place.
Don't Northern Kingdom do that? They carry the idols around. Read on.
And he standeth. From his place shall he not remove.
He can't move at all. Where you put him is where he's going to stay. Read.
Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet can he not answer, nor save him out of his trouble.
Read.
Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors.
Put away the idols. Put away the idols and repent and keep the commandments, because they can't save you. There's no power in those idols praying to them, lighting candles around them and incense. A God for money, a prayer for this saint, a prayer for this. There ain't no healing in that. It comes from the Most High. He's the one that saves us. Go back to Isaiah 43. Let's read verse 1.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 1. But now, thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel.
That's who you are. That's who the Hispanics are. That's who the Latinos are. They are Israel. Read.
Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine.
You are the Most High gods. You're not a Spaniards. You ain't Hispanic, the property of Spain. You are the Most High gods. Now jump down to verse 10.
Verse 10. Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me.
So Buddha ain't real. Krishna ain't real. The damn patron mother saint of protection, that ain't real. There is no God, and there ain't one after him. It's only one true God. Read on.
I, even I am the Lord, and beside me there is no Savior.
This is how Hispanics get their life right with God, to go back and join themselves with Judah. Understand, there is no other Savior. Read on.
I have declared and have saved, and I have showed when there was no strange God among you. Therefore,
read that again.
Verse 12. I have declared and have saved, and I have showed when there was no strange God among you. Therefore, ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, that I am God.
Read on.
Yea, before the day was, I am he, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I will work, and who shall let it?
When I get to working, who's going to stop me? So here's a question. How are Hispanics witnesses of God? Because it just said, ye are my witnesses. Give me an example of how they are the witnesses of God. First hand should have went up his Northern Kingdom. All the historical books we done went through. Come on, Northern Kingdom, connect the dots.
Like the sister said in the video, they forgot who they were. God said that would happen to them.
He said that. They went on slave ships. They are God's witnesses because they suffered Deuteronomy 28 until this day. That's how they the witnesses of God. We just read all the books. Why y'all think I went through them? Went through them so you can show that's the what God said would happen. Deuteronomy 28, it happened. 1492, 1619, 1500s. It happened. We are the witnesses of God. Now, I want to read about, I got some time here. I want to read about some true Hispanic history. True Hispanic heritage. Can you go to the book of Joshua? How about we read about some true Hispanic heritage and history? Joshua, and let's read chapter 10 and verse 8.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 10 and verse 8. And the Lord said unto Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee.
Now let's see. Joshua's tribe. What was Joshua's tribe, brother? I need a show of hands. Who's there in the back? David, just say it. You way in the back. Ephraim. Tribe of Ephraim. Let's prove that. Go to Numbers. We're going to prove that. Some people might not know that. You know, we got new brothers, new sisters. You might have read it and glanced right over it. We're going to get it today. Numbers 13. Let's read verse 1 and 2.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 13 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I gave unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them.
Every tribe send one man. Jump up to verse 8 now.
Verse 8. Of the tribe of Ephraim.
Of the tribe of Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans. Read.
Oshea, the son of Nun.
Oshea is Joshua, the son of Nun. Here's to, because it don't say Joshua, you might be a little confused. Here's to help you out. Numbers 14, verse 6.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 14 and verse 6. And Joshua, the son of Nun.
The son of who?
The son of Nun.
Joshua, the son of Nun from the tribe of Ephraim. Let's go back to Joshua now. chapter 10, and let's read 8 through 14. Let's read this Hispanic heritage.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 10 and verse 8. And the Lord said unto Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night.
All night, go ahead.
And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up Beth-lehoron, and smote them to Azekah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth-horon, that the Lord cast down a great stone from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstone than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword.
Read.
Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered unto the Ammonites before the children of Israel.
The Amorites, those are Hamites. Go ahead.
And he said in the sight of all Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies.
So no matter what kind of Hispanic history that we try to fit into Hispanic Heritage Month, it ain't got nothing on this Ephraimite, this Puerto Rican, making the sun stand still. Ain't no history that you could go over in the month that where it'll tell you this Ephraimite Puerto Rican made the sun stand still. Nothing like that. Read on.
Is not this written in the book of Jasher?
And it's recorded in a book. Go ahead.
So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about the whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after.
There's never been another day like that. So only a Puerto Rican is the only person on the face of the earth to make the sun stand still. How about that Hispanic heritage? Read on.
That the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel.
The Lord fought for Israel. Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. And it came to pass, where Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter.
So this this Puerto Rican was a warrior. Go ahead.
Till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities.
They ran behind the walls. Go ahead.
And all the people returned to the camp of Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel.
It wasn't nobody calling you no wetbacks. They weren't calling you no daggone rich ports. They weren't calling you no dogs of the Lord Dominicans. They weren't calling you no shallow water Hondurans. They weren't calling you Peruvians. Didn't nobody say nothing about no Israelite on the face of the earth. Kept their mouth shut. It's going to be like that again, too. It's going to be like that again, too. People that we don't know going to serve us. When we get our mind right, come together. I see, yes, that's right. Read on.
Verse 22. Then said Joshua, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave.
Get them 5 dudes. Bring them out. They ran in a cave, right? Bring them out. Go ahead.
And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave. The king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all men of Israel, and said unto the captains of those men of war, which went with him, come near, put your feet upon their necks, upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them.
You got to picture this. The history is written that you may learn from it. That's what we read in Romans 15, right? You may learn from this history. Put our feet on the necks of our enemies. Read on. And this is Joshua, remember, this is a so-called Puerto Rican telling them to do this. Come put your foot on their neck. Go ahead.
And Joshua said unto them, fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight.
When you are keeping the commandments of God. Read on.
And afterwards Joshua smote them.
Who smote them?
Joshua smote them.
Joshua smote them. He took his sword out the daggone sheath. Go ahead.
and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees.
Then put them on trees. Go ahead.
And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening.
Go ahead, read on.
And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain unto this very day.
So they bones are still in that cave somewhere. Take them off or throw their dead bodies in there. It ain't like they didn't lay them to rest. You know how somebody get laid to rest? No, they get laid to rest. He took them down and threw them in the cave. That's how Israelites from the tribe of Ephraim get down when they keep the commandments. Let's go to Sirach chapter 46. Let's read some more about Joshua. I would go into Gideon, Manasseh, Northern Kingdom. I just ain't got the time. You can read that on your own. All right, let's give you that in Sirach 46. Let's read 1 through 8 about Joshua.
This is the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 46 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Jesus, the son of Navah.
Jesus is the Greek translation for Joshua, the son of Nav. Nav is none. Okay, read on.
Was valiant in the wars.
He was valiant in the wars, a mighty man of valor. Read.
And was the successor of Moses' prophecies.
In prophecies, go ahead.
Who according to his name was made great for the saving of the elect of God.
So this Ephraimite he was chosen to save the people of God, lead them into the promised land. Read on.
And taking vengeance of the enemies that rose up against them, that he might set Israel in their inheritance. How great glory got he when he did lift up his hands and stretched out his sword against the cities.
You got to picture this. He got the sword. He stretched it out to the cities, and then you got all 12 tribes, the men of war, running out behind him, yelling, "Ah!" That's what we read it right here. Read on.
Who before him so stood to it, for the Lord himself brought his enemies unto him. Did not the sun go back by his means?
Did not the sun go back by his means? Read.
And was not one day as long as 2?
It was a 48-hour day. The only time on the face of the earth it was a 48-hour day, and a Hispanic led the charge. Read.
He called upon the Most High Lord. When the enemies pressed upon him,
but the main thing he did, read that part again.
He called upon the Most High Lord.
That's what our Hispanic brothers got to get back to doing. They got to get back to calling on the Most High Lord. That's what we have detached and discontinued ourselves from, and they've went off into idolatry. We got to get back to calling upon the Most High Lord. Read on.
When the enemies pressed upon him on every side, and the great Lord heard him, and with hailstones of mighty power, he made the battle to fall violently upon the nations. And in the descent of Beth-horon, he destroyed them that resisted, that the nations might know all their strength, because he fought in the sight of the Lord, and he followed the mighty one.
Joshua followed the mighty one. Go ahead.
In the time of Moses also he did work of mercy. He and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh.
Do y'all know what tribe Caleb was from? What tribe was he from, brothers? Judah. So the two that made it into the kingdom, Judah and Ephraim, blacks and Hispanics, came together. Powerful. Read on.
Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, in that they withstood the congregation and withheld the people from sin.
That's our job. That's why Ephraim, the head tribe, and Judah, our job is to withhold the people from sin. Read on.
And appease the wicked murmuring. And of 600,000 people on foot, they too were preserved to bring them into the heritage, even unto the land that floweth with milk and honey.
Judah and Ephraim was the only two from the first generation to go in. All right, let's go to Joshua 24. Let's read verse 14, 15. We're going to end it on this. This is the main thing that has to be put back into the minds of our Hispanic brothers. 24, 15, and 16.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood.
The other side of the flood, meaning when you was over in Egypt. Go ahead.
Or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell.
Are you going to serve these Hamites guys right here in Canaan? Go ahead.
But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Read that part again.
But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
We will serve the Lord. Read on.
And the people answered and said.
And the people answered. The Puerto Ricans, the Cubans, the Hondurans, the Peruvians, whoever you want to name of the 10 tribes of Israel, the Hispanic or Latino brothers. All the people answered, read.
Answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods.
So now we got to get back to that. Our Hispanic brothers, get back to that. Put away the idols of Catholicism. Put away the rosary beads. Put away the white Jesus. Put away the Sunday worship and come back and serve the Lord.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.